Hi everyone, welcome back to The Follow Through. My name is Avery Brenda Kermerine, author of Intention into Action, and today I want to talk about something that almost everyone feels but doesn't really question: confidence. Because for a lot of people, confidence feels so far away. Like, I'm never gonna get confident, and it's something that you have to build before you start. Like, you have to feel more ready, more sure, more like you know what you're doing before you actually end up doing it. And honestly, I used to feel that too. I used to think confidence was something you had to get first, and then you could end up taking action. And I didn't really question that because it just felt true, because you'd want to feel ready before you end up doing something. And when you're thinking about it, it seems like the logical way to approach things. So if I didn't feel ready, then I would end up waiting. I would end up thinking about it more. I would try and prepare more. Or I would tell myself that I'd just do it later. And usually later meant nothing, not doing it at all. And I think a lot of people are doing that without even realizing it. You're waiting to feel more confident before you speak, before you solidify your message, before you end up starting something, before putting yourself out there, before you follow through on something you've been thinking about doing for a while. And it sounds reasonable. It sounds like you're being smart about it because you're thinking it through. But what I've realized is that's actually the reason it feels so far away. Because confidence doesn't come first, it comes after. And I didn't really understand that until I started putting myself in situations where I didn't feel ready at all. I mean, if we're going way back to the beginning, when I first started college, when I joined Women in Business and I learned about the student led philanthropy that I decided I wanted to help support, my mom and I ended up kind of brainstorming together, and we came up with the idea to do the charity auction. And it ended up turning into something real so soon. We ended up reaching out to people, creating all of these offers and putting them into this big community Zoom, and it ended up turning into something real and something that I had to be part of and I had to kind of co-host, and I didn't feel ready for that at all. And it just kept growing. And at a certain point, it wasn't even an idea anymore. It was something that was actually happening. There was an event that was happening, and we ended up raising $22,000 for something I wasn't even ready to do. It's like when you're thinking about it, it's like I'm not just organizing it, I actually have to co host it. I actually have to speak in front of all these people. And I remember thinking, I don't feel ready for that. I don't feel like a speaker. I don't feel confident. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing. And I definitely had moments where I could have pulled back. I didn't have to say yes to doing this event. And I honestly probably could have even tried to stay behind the scenes, like maybe just let my mom lead the event, but I didn't. I think a part of it was that I already committed and it was already happening and I wanted to support. And so I put myself in this situation where I had to show up. And I remember before it was starting, before I had to speak, um, it's like you're in your head. You're just thinking about, what am I going to say? You're wondering, like, what if I run out of things to say? Where am I going to mess up? And there was this moment, I don't feel confident. I didn't feel confident. And I started anyway. And I got through it. And looking back, it was so amazing because that moment matters so much more than I realized at the time. Because it showed something so simple, that you can do something without feeling confident. You can feel nervous, unsure, uncomfortable, and still do it anyway, and then realize that you were actually okay. And that still didn't instantly make me feel confident, but it gave me something so much more important. It gave me proof, and then that built into the next experience. When I spoke at the $1 billion Impact event, it was at a completely different level. You know, being interviewed on stage for the first time in front of like 100 or 200 people, and I didn't even have any of the questions beforehand. So it's like, what am I even going to be asked? I've never spoken on stage before. And I remember like thinking I could have said no, and that would have been so valid. It would have been so easy to just not do it in the first place, but I ended up saying yes. And I remember feeling so nervous on stage, not confident, not sure what I was going to say next because I didn't even know the next question I was going to be asked. And there's something about that kind of situation where you just can't hide. There's no going back and editing what you're going to say. You can't pause and think. And you're just there. You're in the moment, active. You have to respond. And I got through it. Not perfectly, not in a way where I was walking off thinking that was flawless, but I handled it, and that experience did something for me that thinking about it could have never done. It showed me that I could be in a situation like that and still be okay. And both of these situations It really changed how I saw things. Even now, I don't feel completely confident getting on stage. I still get nervous. I still have moments where I think I don't know exactly how this is going to go. That feeling hasn't gone away, but it's gotten so much better. And what's different now is I know I don't need to feel confident to do it anymore. I know that I don't need to feel super prepared and I don't need to have everything figured out. And I know that it'll just be okay. And that's a very different feeling because it's not confidence in the sense of feeling perfect, it's confidence in the sense of I trust myself. I know I've done it before, I know I can handle it, and I know that I'll end up figuring it out. And if I hadn't put myself in those uncomfortable situations in the beginning, I wouldn't have that right now. And I think that's what people are really looking for when they say they want confidence. They don't necessarily want to feel perfect, they just want to feel like they'll be okay. And that only comes after you end up doing it. That's also what led me into writing my book. Because if I hadn't started speaking, if I hadn't been in those situations where I had to figure out what I was trying to say in real time, then I don't think I would have felt comfortable even enough to attempt writing a book. But even when I did write it, I still didn't feel confident that it was going to be good. There were moments where I questioned. I was like, is this even going to make sense to people? Is this actually valuable? Is this book too thin? Does it actually sound like me? And are people going to understand the message that I'm trying to give? And I could have easily slowed down or stopped because of those things. But instead, I just accepted something. I accepted that I could keep going without feeling confident. And that was such a big shift because I stopped trying to feel a certain way first and I just focused on continuing. And then when I finished it, that was something that completely changed. Not in the sense that I felt perfect or I had no doubts that people were going to like it or not, but I felt confident in the fact that I had done it, that I had followed through, and that I'd taken something from an idea to something real. And that stayed with me and carried over into other areas. And getting on a stage felt different after I wrote my book, not because I magically became more confident, but because I had something that represented my voice. I had something that proved to me that I could follow through on something that was really big because a lot of people just think about writing a book and not a lot of people actually complete one or publish one. And I think that's what builds confidence more than anything. It's not about thinking about it, it's not about waiting for it, it's not about convincing yourself that you're ready. It's about doing something even when you don't feel ready and then having that experience to look back on. So, when confidence feels far away, it's usually because you're treating it as something you need before you actually start. So as long as you do that, it's going to stay further away because you're never giving yourself the chance to build it. And I'm not saying this as someone who always feels confident because I don't. There are still plenty of things I hesitate on. There are moments where I feel unsure, and that doesn't really go away. You just get more comfortable acting without that feeling. So if there's something you've been waiting on, something you've been telling yourself you'll do it when you feel more ready or more confident, just notice it. And instead of trying to change how you feel first, just ask yourself what the next step actually is. Not the full plan, but the next step. And then do it without waiting to feel different. Because that's how it actually works. Because confidence isn't something you get before you act, it's something you build because you acted. And at the end of the day, intention doesn't change anything, putting it into action does. I'll see you guys in the next episode.